Welcome back, guys. Taft Arnington here for another 19's itemization video. This video we're going to be talking about Paladin, race, and spec. Um, so I think it's has a lot to do with which race you're going to go. It has a lot to do with how you want to play it. Um, but then again, I don't think it's all that big of a deal which one you go. Because I believe both dwarf female and human female can both slip through the alliance fence. Um, so that's not really a big deal, which is usually my big deal breaker between races, is which one is able to get through that fence. Because if you can't get through the fence, you know, to me that's beyond anything else as far as like importance. But yeah, if we look at the base stats, we see human has 22 strength, 20 agility, 22 stam, 20 intellect, 23 spirit. Really kind of down the line, very even kiln. Dwarf 24 strength, 16 agility, 25 stamina, 19 intellect, 20 spirit. Um, you know, most of the time I break these down into like what are the primary stats and what are the secondary stats, which is usually a division between stamint and strength and agility. Um, but for Paladin, I feel like it really just depends on how you're going to be playing it. Um, but if we do compare, obviously Dwarf has a lot more stam with one less intellect. So if you wanted to call Stam and Int your primary stats, Dwarf would win. Um, having, what is that? The 30, 40, 44 for primary, and Human only having 42 for primary. And then if we look at Strength and Agility as a secondary, Human again 42, and Dwarf, what is that? 40. So it looks like dwarfs take like two stats from strength and agility, and it kind of gets put into the kind of gets put there into the stamina and intellect. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I mean, if you wanted to be a pure flag carry, I would suggest dwarf on base stats. If you want to be pure assist, I would suggest human on base stats. And then if you wanted to be like pure DPS, it's kind of a toss up because I don't know. Is an extra 2 strength worth 4 agility? I don't know. Anyway, let's look at their racials. So human has perception, dramatically increases stealth detection for 20 seconds. Do realize that perception makes a loud noise whenever it's used, and there is an animation at your feet. So, as a rogue, like I've learned to listen and watch for perception. So pretty much you want to hang on to it until you know you're near a rogue. Like either you heard their stealth or you've got a really good idea of where they're at before just popping this, because it's really easy to avoid because you can see it from way far away and it makes a very loud noise. Sword specialization, this is great, especially if you're going to be sword and boarding and using Shadowfang. Mace specialization, there aren't really any maces um, because I mean I think someone might bring up like, oh well, what about Face Smasher? Like that's good for Druid FCs. Yeah, but since you can use swords, I would say that the sword, what's it called? The one that mages use. The one that mages use. What's it called? Nightwatch short sword. I would say Nightwatch short sword would be better for flag carrying because it has that extra stam on it than the mace. So I wouldn't, where we go? Wouldn't say the May specialization really has much going for it. Uh, Human spirit, 5 spirit, or 5% increase of spirit, not bad. Not bad. It's decent, but also remember you have a very overpowered blessing of wisdom uh, at 19, which is 10 MP5, which is absolutely absurd. Um, so I'd say it's nice, but not all that big. Diplomacy, reputation gains by 10%. That's really nice. It's going to help Warsong rep it, but you know, it's not really needed. Not going to help you in the game itself. Dwarf has stone form while activates grants immunity to bleed, poison, and disease effects. In addition, armor increased by 10%. That's pretty nice, and it fits in line really well with the idea that dwarf is, has that extra stam on it. Better for flag carrying, that extra armor from stone form, the ability to bandage to remove a bleed or a poison and go straight into a bandage is really nice with stone form. Um, so it's very nice. Find treasure. I guess it's nice if you want to farm up cat figurines, but that's pretty much it. Gun specialization not applicable. Frost resistance is nice, but the thing is, mages at 19 aren't really doing any damage with frost spells, and you do have a blessing of freedom. So I guess it is nice, but it's not quite as big on a paladin as with other dwarf classes. But between the racials, again, it's really up to how you want to play paladin. I mean, a sword and board is probably going to be better on a human. Flag carrier is probably going to be better with dwarf. Um, Two-handed DPS, kind of up in the air, whichever one. But perception is really nice. Stone form is really nice. Sword specialization is nice. Uh, you know, I would go. I mean, honestly, it depends on what you want to do because I'm pretty sure that both female dwarf and female human can both make it through the alliance fence. Personally, I prefer the jump box of a human female to a human dwarf, but completely up to you. I don't think it would really make all that big of a difference which one you win. I'm sure there's some people with strong opinions as to which one to go. So we've got two specs here, and personally, there's one that I've got a really I prefer a lot more than the other. So we'll start with the one that I don't necessarily prefer, but people do go this. Now, whatever you do with Paladin at 19, you've got to get Guardian's Favor. Um, Reduces the cooldown of Blessing of Protection by 2 minutes, which is like what? Um, and the thing is, Blessing of Protection, really good, especially if some idiot has the flag and they don't know what they're doing with it. You can bop them and it'll force the flag to drop and you can instantly pick it up. Um, it's also really, really good for being able to So I don't know if it's going to be in play, but on all the private servers, you could, as a paladin, bop yourself. It would drop the flag, but then you could re-pick the flag while bop was still on you. Which seems ridiculous in that it shouldn't be the case, but it was the case, and it was ridiculous. So, um, so you could, in like 2 minutes off of that spell is just wow. And the biggest thing from Guardian's Favor is increases the duration of your Blessing of Freedom by 6 seconds. And this is unbelievably big, especially if there's nobody on Horde who knows how to dispel properly. It is so big. I think I forget the amount of time, but it reduces the amount of time that you are unable to have Blessing or Freedom up to something like 4, maybe 5 seconds or something where you can't have it up. But basically, with the added 6 seconds, it the proportion of time that you are able to have Blessing or Freedom up is significantly improved. Guardian's Favor is by far the number one talent that you can go into as a 19 Paladin. Like nothing comes remotely close. 2 minutes off Bop and an added 6 seconds on Blessing of Freedom is stupid. Um, and so between like the first tier uh, points that we go into, there's improved Devotion Aura, increases armor bonus of Devotion Aura by 5%, which would eventually turn into 25 if we went 5 of 5 with it. I don't really think that's as strong as Rebout, which increases your chance to block attacks with shield by 30% after being the victim of a critical strike last 10 seconds or 5 blocks. Like, as a horde, this feels really unfair. Uh, just how much better Paladin talents are than Shaman talents. Like, it's really feels unfair, but yeah, obviously Rebout is going to be better than the improved armor. Um, Maybe somebody can do the calculation for me in the comments below. Tell me how much armor that translates into, and once we know how much armor it is, we can determine how much damage it'll reduce it by. But I highly doubt that it'll reduce it for more damage than 5 blocks. Um, anyway, but you can decide between those two which one you think is better. I think it's a pretty clear cut case that readout is by far superior. But up to you. And then we also show 3 of 5 to Divine Intellect. Again, this might be for you. It might not. I mean, this is an assist build, is what this is. Also, like it's an assist slash flag carry build. Um, but yeah, 6 intellect to total intellect. Trying to look at some of this other stuff. So there's no. Yeah, so spinal focus. If we want to unlock this, if we look at that, or sorry, spiritual focus, holy light spells, 70% chance not to lose casting time when taking damage. That looks really good. Um, and maybe that's what you'll want to go if you're going pure, like pure. I'm only sitting back and I'm only healing. I could kind of see that because you're going from basically um, no pushback prevention to the standard 70% pushback prevention. So I could see that if you're going just pure, I'm sitting in the back and I'm healing. I could see that. But the thing is, Guardian's Favor, like that Blessing or Freedom, you're going to give your team a lot more value with an added Blessing of Freedom, like 6 seconds of Blessing or Freedom, than being able to cast Holy Light. Because I'm suspecting that Alliance is going to be really heavy into Priest. So healing as a Paladin probably isn't going to be all that big. There's also toughness, increase armor value by what could be a total 10%. I don't think that's going to be that big. Um, I don't think that would be as big even as improved devotion. I bet you improved devotion would give more. Oh yeah, it totally would. Improved blessing of might, nice, but Reduce mana cost of judgment and spells. Oh man, my mic went out on me again. I'm sorry, guys. I must be losing power. Um, some of this stuff, the thing is, like, I haven't done all that much theory crafting into Paladin. I don't really care to either because I'm a Horde main. But yeah, uh, there's a guy. If y'all want to find Lebs on XP off or in like the Twink Discord, Lebs has mained Paladin for a long, long time, and this guy Big Bruv. I'm not entirely sure what his normal handle is, but a guy named Big Bruv, he was the two-handed paladin who just wrecked. And then Lebs has also mained paladin. They could probably tell you a lot more about the theory crafting behind a spec and whether or not any of this other stuff is worth going into. But I think this spec is the one that most people tend to go, which gives you 3% hit with your melee weapons, which will significantly reduce the number of misses. So if you're going two-handed, I would definitely suggest going 3-3 precision. Really suggest that because I've been doing some testing with hit, um, and what I'm finding is there's a uh, there's a really big drop off right at 3%. I find 5% I'm not getting any misses. At 4% I'm getting some, like about 2% are missing at 4%. And then at 3% hit, it's like 3.5% of attacks are missed, and then like at 2% it jumps. It seems to be fairly substantial from 2 to 3. So if you do this, I would definitely suggest going all the way into it and going 3 to 3. But yeah, guys, that's it. I'll catch y'all on the next one.